stone bit into my bleeding knees. I was invisible, just a maid scrubbing the floor of the man who murdered my pack. Heavy boots shook the floorboards. My heart hammered against my ribs. But then he stopped. The Alpha King froze right beside me. He didn't look at my face. He leaned down, inhaling the scent of the baby strapped to my back. The growl vibrated through my bones. Why does this servant's brat smell exactly like me? Invisibility wasn't magic. It was pain. Physical, grinding pain. Scrubbing a stone floor until knuckles bled and skin turned gray. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Lye soap burned the lining of my nose, stinging like fire. I didn't stop. I couldn't. Strapped to my back under a scratchy wool shawl was Eamon, my secret, my heart. The weight grounded me, even as the scullery froze my breath. The air smelled of old grease and wet dog. Eamon shifted. A tiny, soft whimper escaped the wool. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs, stopped, then hammered again. Fear spiked in my chest, cold and sharp. I reached back, sliding a red, chapped hand under the shawl to press 2 fingers to his little back. Hush, please hush. The heavy oak door at the top of the stairs groaned open. Boom, boom, boom. Not the shuffling feet of a servant. Boots. Heavy, leather, war boots. I kept my head down, scrubbed harder. Gray water sloshed over my hand. Be the stone. Just be the stone. The boots descended. Slow, deliberate, a wolf stalking a deer. They stopped inches from my nose. Black leather caked with mud, tipped with silver. A silver toe reflected my ghost of a face. Gray skin, dead eyes. The air shifted. Spiced pine and ozone flooded the room. A storm about to break. Killian, the Alpha, the king who burned my world down. My body curled tighter on instinct. Make myself small. Hide the baby. This room. The deep vibration rattled through the floorboards into my knees. It stinks of lye. Go away. Please go away. Leather creaked. He crouched. He was big. A mountain blocking out the dim light from the grate. But underneath that, heat radiated off him like a furnace. Alpha heat. Why do I smell winter in a basement, girl? My throat closed up tight. A gloved hand reached out. He put a finger under my chin and forced my head up. I made my eyes dull, empty, just a servant, just a nothing. Inside, I was screaming. Eamon sneezed, a tiny wet puff of air against my neck. Killian froze. His hand went still on my chin. His golden, predator eyes widened. What is on your back? Sharp, dangerous. The taste of copper filled my mouth. A burden, my lord. Just a burden. He didn't pull away. He leaned in, inhaling the air right near my neck. That's not a burden. That's a heartbeat. His hand dropped from my chin and moved for the shawl. He was going to uncover him. See the silver hair? No, don't. I wasn't supposed to speak to an alpha. The word hung in the air. Heavy, a death sentence. His golden eyes locked on mine, confused, like he had never heard the word no in his entire life. Show me. It wasn't a request. It was an order from a king.
The basement was a tomb. Cold, damp, a place for rats and unwanted things. I hated it. The lye soap burned my nose, masking everything else. But I couldn't leave. A scent clawed at the back of my throat. It annoyed me. It smelled like home. Like the high mountains where the snow never melted. Why was that smell down here in the muck? The girl was small, frail, covered in grime. She looked like she would break if I breathed on her too hard. Don't. One word. Soft, trembling, but wrapped in steel. Her eyes weren't empty. They were terrified, yes, but fierce. A mother wolf cornered in a den. Curiosity spiked in my blood. Show me. I reached for the bundle. I needed to see what she was hiding. I needed to know what made a scullery maid defy an alpha. She moved. She didn't cower. She didn't cry. The scrubbing brush clattered to the stone. Her hand shot up, small, red, rough. She grabbed my wrist. Time stood still. I stared at my arm. My heavy, armored gauntlet held in the grip of a tiny, human woman. Her fingers dug in. Her knuckles turned white. She was touching me, without permission, physically stopping me. The first person to touch me without shaking in 10 years. "Do not touch my son." Her voice trembled, but her grip didn't loosen. Heat bloomed beneath my skin, not anger, shock, respect. I could snap her wrist like a dry twig. I should. She was a servant. I was a king. I didn't pull away. I leaned in. I put my face right next to hers, close enough to count her eyelashes. The smell hit me, full force, not from the girl, from the bundle, spiced pine, wood smoke, ozone. The air thickened. The world tilted on its axis. My scent, not just a wolf scent, my biological signature. The scent of the black wood pack, but pure, royal. My heart skipped a beat. Thump. I looked at the bundle, then at the girl. Who is the father? My voice sounded hollow, strange to my own ears. She swallowed hard. Her pulse fluttered under my fingertips like a trapped moth. Soldier, he's dead. Liar. Sour milk and deception filled the air. Look at me. I grabbed her chin again, not gentle, desperate. Who is the father? The door at the top of the stairs banged open. Alpha. Thorne, my beta. His voice grated on my nerves like a knife on bone. The council is waiting. We have to purge the lower levels. I froze. If Thorne came down here. If Thorne smelled the winter on that baby. The child was dead. He would call it a mongrel. A threat to the throne. Whatever this child was. Whatever this girl was. They were mine to solve, not Thorne's. A protective instinct surged in my chest. Wild, primal, roaring in my ears. I stood up. I whipped my heavy fur cloak off my shoulder. In the span of a breath, I swung it around the girl, blocking her from the stairs, blocking her from Thorne. Get your things. Low, urgent. She blinked. What? You are promoted. The words tasted like ash. You work in the upper solar now. With me. I looked at the stairs. My hand drifted to the hilt of my sword. And if you try to run? I leaned close, my lips brushing the shell of her ear. I will hunt you down myself. I meant it. I wasn't saving her because I was kind. I was saving her because she held a secret that smelled like my soul, and I was going to find out the truth, even if it broke me.
The solar was a trap wrapped in velvet. The heavy oak door sealed the exit with a final, suffocating click. I stood paralyzed near the wall. My toes, still numb from the freezing scullery water, sank into a rug thick enough to drown in. The air here didn't smell of lye or rot. It smelled of beeswax, crackling firewood and him. Killian paced the hearth. Firelight carved deep shadows across his face, turning him into a dragon in human skin. I tightened my grip on Eamon. The baby slept against my shoulder, exhausted by the adrenaline flooding my blood. He didn't look at me. Sit. My body obeyed on instinct. I perched on the edge of a stiff wooden chair, muscles coiled, ready to bolt. The grandfather clock in the hall sliced through the silence. Tick-tock, a countdown. He turned. His movement was fluid, lethal. You are shaking. I am cold, my lord. My voice betrayed me. Liar. He walked to a crystal decanter. Water splashed against glass, clear, sharp. Drink. He held it out. My throat screamed for it. Dust coated my tongue, but I didn't move. In my world, the world of the hunted, you never take food from a predator. Debt is death. I couldn't owe him. Not my life. Not my son. I am not thirsty. He froze. The glass hovered in the air between us. The temperature in the room plummeted 20 degrees. His voice dropped to a dangerous rumble. You refuse an alpha? I refuse to be comfortable in a cage. The words escaped before I could leash them. I gasped. A maid doesn't speak. A maid doesn't have pride. I had just shown him both. Gold fire flared in Killian's eyes. A cage? He took a step closer, then another. You think this is a cage? He ate the space between us. The air turned heavy, suffocating. Downstairs, you are a slave, he growled. Here, you are warm, you are fed, you are safe. Safe? I met his gaze. Let him see the hate. You burned my pack. You hunted my family. There is no safety with you. Silence roared. My heart hammered against my ribs. I had said too much. I had admitted the pack. I had admitted I wasn't just a nobody. Killian didn't strike me. He didn't yell. He smiled. Not kind. Predatory. A wolf pulling a loose thread in a sweater. Your pack. He set the glass down. Glass on wood. So you do remember. He leaned down, his breath fanning my cheek. I thought you were just a scullery maid. But maids don't look an alpha in the eye. His gaze bore into mine. Who are you really, girl? The secret clawed at my throat. I am no one, just a mother. We'll see. The night is long.
Liar. I stared at the moon rising over the frozen courtyard. But the ice on the glass couldn't cool the fire in my blood. The girl was a puzzle. A dangerous, beautiful puzzle. She wore rags. She smelled of cheap lie and terror. Yet she held her head like a queen facing the executioner. When she refused the water, she didn't look at the floor. She looked at me. She challenged me. Servants didn't do that. Survivors did. I turned back. She watched me, eyes wide, alert, intelligent. And that scent. The bundle on her back bled spiced pine and ozone into the air. My wolf paced my chest, claws scoring my ribs. Mine. I needed to know. The soldier, I said. The one you claim is the father. She stiffened. Yes? What was his name? A simple question. A trap. Her gaze darted to the door, calculating escape. His name was Jarek. Jarek. I tasted the lie. We didn't have a soldier named Jarek in the garrison last winter. The blood drained from her face. Even in the firelight, she looked ready to faint. He was a recruit. He died early. Convenient. I walked toward her. Slow. Inevitable. I wanted her to feel the pressure. I wanted her to crack. I stopped inches from her knees. Let me see the boy. No. Again. That word. No. It struck a match in my veins. Not anger, something hotter, something darker. You defy me again? She twisted, shielding the baby with her body, a fiercer protection than any steel armor. He is sleeping, please. Terror, not for herself, for the child. I softened my voice. I won't hurt him. To my own shock, I meant it. I just want to see. I reached out. My fingers brushed the rough wool shawl. She flinched, a violent, full-body shudder. Please. A single tear cut through the grime on her cheek. If you see him, you will kill us. The words hung in the air, heavy, final. My hand froze. If you see him, you will kill us. That wasn't the plea of a mother hiding a bastard. That was the plea of a mother hiding a crime, or a crown. My heart slammed against my ribs. Thump, thump. Why would I kill a baby? My whisper scraped the silence. She looked up. Her eyes were wet, shattered, honest. Because he looks like the enemy. Time stopped. Duty screamed at me to rip the shawl away, to expose the truth. Pack laws demanded it. But she looked at me like I was the monster she expected me to be. I didn't want to be the monster, not tonight. Slowly, agonizingly, I pulled my hand back. Keep him covered, for now. I turned away. I needed air. I needed to think. But tomorrow, I warned, staring into the flames. Tomorrow I strip every lie from your tongue. Behind me a sob broke loose. Pure, shattered relief. It tore at my chest. I was protecting a liar. And God help me, I liked it.
Come morning, the sun was a traitor. It streamed through the velvet curtains, lighting up the dust motes, the dirt on my dress, and the lie I was living. I sat on the edge of the massive bed. I hadn't slept. Not for a second. My arms burned from the weight of Amon, but I refused to put him down. The room smelled of old leather books and lavender. A rich smell. A safe smell. But to me it smelled like a cage. On the small table near the fire, silver rattled against wood. A tray. Piled high with roasted meat, fresh bread, and cheese. Real cheese. Not the hard rinds through to the scullery. My empty stomach twisted, letting out a treacherous, low rumble. I ignored it. Eat. I jumped. Killian leaned against the heavy oak doorframe, arms crossed. He looked wrecked. His hair stood in messy spikes, like he'd run his hands through it 1,000 times. I am not hungry, my lord. Liar. He didn't stomp. He moved like smoke, silent, predatory. He picked up a piece of bread. Steam curled from the crust. You are starving. I can hear your stomach from the hallway. He held the bread out. His hand was large, calloused, a warrior's hand holding the loaf with strange gentleness. Servants do not eat the master's food. You aren't a servant today. His voice was rough, gravel over silk. Today you are a guest, or a prisoner, depending on how much you lie to me. I flinched. I kept my hands in my lap. Taking the bread meant accepting his rules. It meant accepting this new reality where I was a pet in his room. I want to go back to the kitchens. My voice shook, but I held his gaze. He laughed. A dark, dry sound. The kitchens. He took a bite of the bread, chewing slowly, watching me. Thorne is tearing the kitchens apart right now, looking for the rat with the baby. My blood turned to ice. Thorne, the butcher? Killian stepped closer. If you go back down there, he will kill the boy before you can blink. The truth hit like a slap. I wasn't safe here, but I was dead down there. Eamon stirred. A hungry, high-pitched cry pierced the silence. Wah! Killian's eyes snapped to the baby. Gold flecks swirled in his irises. He is hungry, too. Soft. Too soft. He dropped the tray onto the mattress, right next to my hip. Eat, or I feed you myself. I looked at the food, then at my son. Choice was a luxury I didn't have. With trembling fingers, I reached for the cheese. I broke off a piece. I didn't look at Killian, but the heat of his stare burned my skin. He watched my hands. He watched the way I broke the cheese, not grabbing and tearing like a peasant, but pinching, pulling, delicate. I froze. You have nice manners for a maid. The cheese tumbled from my fingers. My mother. She taught me. Did she? Killian leaned in, his shadow swallowing me. Did she teach you how to lie to a king, too?
I was losing my mind. I stood by the fireplace, watching her eat. She ate like a bird. Small bites, careful. Every movement screamed noble. The straight spine, the lifted chin, even through the terror. She wasn't a maid. She never was. I had spent the last hour drowning in ledgers. The grand book of the army. I checked every name. Twice. Jarek. I whispered the name to the flames. There was no Jarek. No recruit. No soldier. No dead lover. She had lied to my face, and she was bad at it. Still, I didn't call the guards. The smell stopped me. The solar drowned in it now. Spiced pine, coming from the child, stronger than the wood smoke, stronger than my own scent. It drove the wolf inside me crazy. Protect, the beast whined. Pack, cub. I clenched my fists. I needed to break her story. I needed the truth before Thorne came knocking. There was no soldier named Jarek. I dropped the words into the room like heavy stones. Iris froze. The bread stopped halfway to her mouth. My lord? I checked the books. I turned. No recruit, No Jarek, no dead lover. I walked toward her. The thick rug muffled my boots. I stopped at the foot of the bed. So, let's try again. Her face went gray. She pulled the baby tighter. Maybe I got the name wrong. It was a long time ago. The solstice run. She stopped. Her eyes widened. The solstice. The word sucked the oxygen out of the room. The solstice run. The one night a year where the packs mixed, where everyone wore masks, where names were forbidden. I remembered that night. I remembered a woman in a silver mask. She smelled like rain and flowers. I never saw her face. But I remembered her fire. I looked at Iris. Really looked at her. Beneath the grime, beneath the gray dress. You were at the solstice. No. She shrank back. I was scrubbing floors. You are lying. I reached out. I grabbed her wrist. Static snapped. A lash of pure electricity arced up my arm and detonated in my chest. Her eyes locked on mine. Fear vanished. Her pupils dilated. Black swallowed the blue. Mate. My wolf roared it. I yanked my hand back. Stumbled. What are you? I breathed. She clutched her wrist where I had touched her. Shock painted her face. A fist hammered the oak door. Wood groaned under the assault. Killian. Thorne's voice. Open up. We found a blanket downstairs. The scent trail leads here. The spell broke. Panic washed over Iris. She looked at the door, then the window. She was going to run. She was going to jump. Don't move. I looked at the door, then back at her. Thorne would see the baby. He would see the resemblance. He would execute them both on the rug. I made a decision. A treasonous decision. Get in the wardrobe. What? Hide, I snarled. Now. I grabbed her arm, ignoring the sparks this time, and shoved her toward the massive oak cabinet in the corner. But Thorne is coming in. If he sees you, you die. If he smells that baby, you die. I pushed her inside amongst the furs and cloaks. Stay silent, or I will kill you myself just to save Thorne the trouble. I slammed the door shut. The latch clicked. The main door to the solar burst open.
The wardrobe wasn't just dark. It was a suffocating throat of fur and velvet. I crouched. My knees jammed into my ribs. Amon was a warm weight crushed between my frantic heart and a wall of silk coats. The air drowned me in him. Cedar. Rain. The heat of a man who slept alone. It was dizzying. It wrapped around my throat like a lover's hand. Don't breathe. Just don't breathe. Voices bled through the thick oak doors, muffled, angry. I smell it, Killian. Thorne. I squeezed my eyes shut. My heart hammered against my ribs, a war drum in the tiny space. Surely the whole castle could hear the rhythm of my terror. I didn't move. Amon stirred against my chest. The darkness scared him. His mouth opened to cry. Ice flooded my veins. I shifted the shawl. I pressed his face to my breast, offering the only comfort I had left. Silence, little wolf. Please. He latched. The cry died, replaced by the rhythmic tug of survival. In the quiet, Thorne's voice grew louder, closer. The scent is fresh. Milk, fear, and something else. Something familiar. I froze. He smelled the milk. He was hunting us like a hound. You are imagining things, Thorne. Killian's voice cut through the wood, too calm. The only thing you smell is your own paranoia. Is it? Heavy boots crunched on the floorboards. Vibration traveled through the wood into my spine. He was inches away. Only a thin veneer of oak separated me from the butcher. Open it. My blood turned to slush. Step back. Killian's voice dropped an octave. Not human. A growl. Step back. The air in the wardrobe vanished. I clutched Amon until my fingers ached. I waited for the light. I waited for the sword. I waited to die.
I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. My body became a shield. a living wall of muscle and anger blocking the wardrobe. Thorne stood 3 feet away. His hand hovered on the hilt of his blade. His nose twitched. Hunting. You are hiding something. His eyes darted to the tray by the bed, the half-eaten cheese, the torn bread. Since when do you eat breakfast in your room, Alpha? You always eat in the great hall with the men. I was hungry. 2 cups? Thorne pointed. The crystal goblet and my tankard. Damn it. I was thirsty. A weak lie. Thorne knew it. Thorne stepped closer, testing the boundaries, looking for a throat to rip out. You are going soft, Killian. You let the silver moon rats slip through our fingers, and now you hide in your tower. His eyes flicked to the wood behind me. What is in there? My clothes. Unless you want to inspect my laundry, get out. Thorne smiled, a jagged, ugly thing. Maybe I do. He reached for the handle. My body moved before my brain could calculate. I lunged. My hand slammed against the wood, pinning the door shut. My arm brushed his chest. A threat. Touch my things, I snarled, face inches from his, and you lose the hand. The air crackled. Static popped between us. Alpha against beta, dominance against ambition. Thorne froze. He looked at my hand, then my eyes. He saw the murder there. Silence roared. Finally, he stepped back, hands up in mock surrender. Easy, Alpha. I just want to keep the pack safe. He walked to the door. At the threshold, he stopped. He didn't look back. The scent doesn't lie, Killian. I will find the rat. And when I do, I will mount her head on the gate. The heavy door clicked shut. I let out a breath I'd been holding for 10 minutes. My knees felt like water. I ripped the wardrobe open. Iris huddled in the corner, eyes wide, tear-filled, small, broken, alive. He knows. Her whisper shook. He knows. I looked at the baby asleep in her arms. Yes, he knows. I reached out. I didn't grab her this time. I offered my palm, a peace offering. Which means, I said, my voice grim, we have to leave.
Leave? The word tasted like ash. I stared at Killian's hand. Big, calloused. A hand that gripped swords and signed death warrants. I didn't take it. Beyond the glass, the snow fell in a white curtain of death. Thick, heavy. If we stepped out there, Thorne would find us in an hour. Eamon would freeze before we reached the tree line. I looked down. My sun radiated warmth against my chest, safe in the Alpha's furs. We cannot leave. Killian dropped his hand. A hiss of frustration escaped his teeth. We have no choice. Thorne knows. He smells the bloodline. If we stay, he tears this room apart. If we run, he hunts us like dogs. My mind raced. I needed a shield. A real shield. Not a wardrobe, not a lie. I needed a claim. In the wild, a wolf only attacks a stray. They never touch what belongs to the Alpha. Never. A dangerous idea took root in my chest. Humiliating. Necessary. It would save Eamon. I stood up. My legs felt heavy. Wooden. There is another way. My hands shook, but my voice held steady. Killian frowned. What? Hide the scent. Cover it. With what? Perfume? Lie? Thorne has a nose like a bloodhound. No. I stepped closer. With you. The air between us thickened, heavy, hot. I reached up. I undid the top button of my dress. Killian froze. His gaze dropped to my throat. Pupils flared. Black swallowing gold. What are you doing? His voice was rough. Gravel. Thorne smells a stray. Make him smell an Alpha. I dropped to my knees. The hardest thing I had ever done. I was a noble. I was a mother. I did not kneel. Yet, here I was. I lowered my head. I pulled my collar aside, exposing the pale, fragile skin of my neck. The spot where life pulsed. Mark me. Silence roared. This wasn't romance. It was surrender, a trade of my body for my son's life. Iris, warning, do it. I close my eyes. Claim me. Make me yours. If I smell like you, Thorne cannot touch us. I waited. My heart hammered against my ribs. Thump, thump, thump. I was offering my neck to the monster who destroyed my world. It was the only way.
Air stalled in my lungs. I stared at the woman on my rug, small, defeated, her neck bared, white and soft against the dark wool of her dress. A trap. My wolf howled. Mate, claim, mine. The beast wanted to tear into her, sink teeth in, never let go, own her. But the man was terrified. If I marked her, if I put my scent on her, there was no going back. She would be under my protection. My pack would see it. Thorne would see it. A declaration of war against my own counsel. You don't know what you are asking. My voice sounded wrecked. I am asking to survive. She spoke to the floor. Gravity pulled me. One step, then another. I couldn't stop. The scent of her, rain and fear and hidden power, dragged me down. I dropped to my knees. I trembled. The king of the north shaking like a boy. Look at me. She didn't move. She kept her neck bared. A sacrifice. Iris. Slowly, she lifted her head. Her eyes were wet. Blue fire. Please. I broke. I leaned in. I buried my face in the crook of her neck. Her skin was hot, soft. It tasted of salt. I opened my mouth. Canines lengthened, sharp, lethal. I didn't bite hard. I didn't draw blood. Not yet. I scraped my teeth against her pulse point. A warning. A promise. She gasped. Her hands flew up, gripping my shoulders. The world narrowed. No thorn, no castle, no snow. Just her skin and my hunger. I pressed my tongue to her pulse. I let my scent, heavy, dark alpha pheromones, flood her skin. I wrapped her in it, drowned her in it. Mine. Not a word. A law. A spark jumped between us. Zap. Stronger this time. It burned my lips. It seared her skin. I pulled back, shocked. She stared at me, wide-eyed. Her hand flew to her neck. What was that? A sound cut through the room. A woo-wah. The bed. Amen. Not a normal cry. A dual tone. Half human wail, half wolf howl. My blood ran cold. I looked at the baby, then at Iris. That cry. That isn't a human cry. Iris went pale. He is just hungry. No. I stood up. I backed away. That is a pup's cry. I looked at the mark fading on her neck, then at the child. The pieces clicked into place. The scent, the spark, the howl. You aren't a servant. My voice was quiet, deadly. And that isn't a soldier's bastard. I pointed at the child. That is an heir. The truth hung in the air. Naked. Terrifying. I had just claimed a woman hiding the one thing that could destroy my kingdom. And God help me, I wanted to do it again.
The truth was a bomb, and it had just gone off. I stared at Killian, a statue carved from ice. His chest heaved. His eyes were wide, fixed on Aemon, fixed on the tiny, wailing proof of my treason. An heir. The words sucked the air out of the room. Heavy. Suffocating. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I pulled the blanket up, trying to hide my son, trying to hide the sin. Killian, don't. He backed away. He looked at me like a stranger. No, worse. He looked at me like a knife he had just found in his back. You made me a traitor, he growled. You made me claim a rival heir. Silence. So loud it hurt my ears. He ran a hand through his hair. He looked at the door, then back at me. His jaw worked. Fighting a war inside his own head. Wolf against king. Instinct against duty. I should kill you. His voice was flat, dead. I should hand you to Thorne right now. My heart stopped, but he didn't move toward the door. He didn't call the guards. He walked to the window, staring out at the snow. but I can't. He touched his own neck, as if he could feel the ghost of my skin on his lips. I marked you. He turned. His eyes were cold. You are Pack now, and Pack protects Pack. Even the liars. Boom! A horn blew outside. The alarm. The council was gathering. Thorne was making his move. Killian cursed, a low, vicious sound. I have to go. I have to stop them before they tear the castle apart. He walked to the heavy oak door. He gripped the iron latch. Stay here. Do not make a sound. Do not go near the window. Killian, please. I took a step toward him. Stay. I froze. I will deal with you when I return. If I return. With a single glance, he stepped out. The door slammed. Then came the sound that broke me. Click, clack, the deadbolt, sliding home, locking me in. Time didn't move in the solar. It dragged. I sat on the floor, my back pressed against the nursery wall. Eamon slept, exhausted by the magic and the fear. But I was awake. My hands shook. The door was a slab of solid oak, impenetrable, trapped. I had played the game. I had used the power. I had used the mark, and I had failed. I wasn't a survivor. I was just a mother in a cage, waiting for the butcher. Maybe I was always meant to die here. I touched my neck. The skin still burned where he had touched me. A phantom kiss. Mine, he had said. But he had left. He had locked me in. A tear slipped down my cheek, hot, salty. I'm sorry, little wolf, I whispered to the sleeping baby. I tried. The wind howled outside. A pack of wolves mourning a loss. Scrape, metal on metal. My eyes snapped open. The door. Someone was working the lock. Not with a key. With a pick. My heart hammered against my ribs. Thump, thump, thump. Killian? No answer, just the scratching sound. Scritch, scratch. Ice flooded my veins. Killian had the key. He wouldn't pick the lock. I scrambled to my feet. I grabbed Eamon. I backed toward the fireplace, toward the heavy iron poker. Who is there? My voice trembled. The scratching stopped. Silence. Click. The handle turned. Slowly. Down. Then up. The heavy door creaked open. It wasn't Killian. It wasn't a guard. Thorne. He stood in the doorway. Alone. A long, thin dagger in his hand. The silver blade caught the firelight. He smiled. Not nice. The smile of a man who had won. Hello, rat. Fear clamped a cold hand around my throat. I backed up until my legs hit the stone hearth. Nowhere left to go. Thorne stepped into the room. He closed the door softly. You thought you could hide. His voice was smooth. Oil on water. You thought the alpha's scent would cover the stench of a traitor. He took a step closer. But I have a very good nose. He tapped his face. And I know what a silver moon whelp smells like. He looked at Eamon. His eyes went flat. Dead. Give me the boy. No. A small word. Weak. Thorne laughed. You think you have a choice? He walked toward me. He didn't rush. He savored it. A cat playing with a mouse. Killian is busy. I sent a diversion to the west gate. He thinks we are under attack. By the time he gets back, you will be gone. He will kill you, I hissed. He marked me. Thorne paused. He looked at my neck. He saw the faint red mark. Yes, he did. Which means he is weak. He let a pretty face turn him into a traitor. He raised the dagger. So, I am doing him a favor. I am cutting out the rot. He lunged. Fast. Too fast. I screamed. I threw myself to the side. Slash. The dagger missed Eamon by an inch. It caught my sleeve. Ripping fabric. Scratching skin. Pain flared, hot and sharp. I didn't stop. I couldn't. I rolled across the rug, clutching Eamon to my chest. You can't run, Thorne laughed. He blocked the path to the door. He was right. I couldn't run. I couldn't hide. The room was empty. No guards, no Killian, no help. There was no hero coming. No alpha to save me. I was alone. Thorne raised the knife again. He stepped over the toys, over the silk robes. End of the line, girl. I looked at the fireplace. I looked at the heavy iron poker resting against the stone. Heavy, rusted, ugly, solid. Fear vanished. It turned into something else. Something cold. Something sharp. I wasn't a maid. I wasn't a noble. I wasn't a victim. I was a mother. And a mother protects her young. My hand reached out. My fingers closed around the cold iron. I gripped it tight. I looked Thorne in the eye. "Come and get him." The poker was heavy. Cold iron dragging my arm down. I didn't drop it. "A poker?" Thorne laughed. A wet, ugly sound. "You think a fireplace tool stops a beta?" He lunged, a blur of motion. I swung. Every ounce of fear, every ounce of rage poured into the blow. Clang. Iron met steel. Thorne blocked the strike with his dagger like I was a child playing with a stick. The vibration jarred my bones. It rattled my teeth. Pathetic. He backhanded me. Crack. Leather met jaw. The world spun. Stars exploded behind my eyelids. I flew backward. Hit the floor hard. The poker skittered across the rug. "Stay down." He turned away. He looked at the bundle on the bed. "Amen," my son screamed, high, terrified. "Shut up, mongrel." Thorne raised the dagger. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking at the throat of my baby. Something inside me broke. Not fear. The lock. The mental cage I had built around my wolf for 5 years shattered. No. It wasn't a human word. It was a tear in the fabric of the room. I scrambled up, not for the poker, for the cradle. Heavy oak, solid, built to last 100 years. My hands wrapped around the curved wooden rocker. Thorne heard me move. He started to turn. Too late. Get away from him. I lifted the cradle, heavy bedding and all, and swung it. A battering ram. Crack. Solid oak smashed into Thorne's shin. The sound was sickening. A dry branch snapping in winter. Thorne howled. The dagger clattered to the floor. He crumpled, clutching his leg. "You bitch!" He reached out, claws extended, swiped, slash. He caught my arm. Deep. 4 jagged lines of fire ripped through my skin. Blood. Copper and salt hit the air. My blood. Pain flared, hot and blinding. Then it changed. It stopped hurting. It started burning, lava in my veins. My skin felt too tight. My bones felt too small. Let me out. The voice in my head roared. A command. I looked at my hand. Fingers lengthening. Nails turning black. Sharp. Thorne looked up. His eyes went wide. Face draining of color. "Silver? You are Silver Moon." He tried to scramble back. He wasn't looking at a maid anymore. Fabric tore. The gray dress shredded like wet paper. Fur. Silver as moonlight. Thick as armor. I fell forward. But I didn't hit the floor. I caught myself on 4 massive paws. I shook my head. A snout. Fangs. I wasn't Iris the maid. I was the wolf. And I was hungry.
The diversion was a lie. I knew it the moment I reached the west gate. No torches, no enemy pack. Just snow and silence. "Thorne." I turned my horse, kicked the beast into a gallop. I rode like a madman back to the keep. I didn't use the stairs. I took the servants' passage, 3 steps at a time. My heart hammered against my ribs. Thump, thump, thump. I smelled it before I reached the solar. Blood. Fresh, hot. Too much of it. Iris, I didn't use the key. I didn't pick the lock. I hit the door with my shoulder. Full alpha strength. Crash. Wood splintered. The door flew off its hinges. I burst into the room, sword drawn, ready to kill, ready to save her. I stopped, the sword lowered. The room was a wreck. The heavy oak cradle overturned, the rug shredded, and in the center of the chaos, a beast, not a normal wolf. Massive. Shoulders up to my chest, fur pure, shimmering silver, tipped with black. A silver moon royal. The wolf stood over a body. Thorne. The beta was curled against the wall, his leg bent at a wrong angle, face gray with shock, bleeding from the shoulder. He wasn't fighting. He was cowering. Alpha, Thorne whimpered, pointing a shaking finger. Monster? She is a monster. The silver wolf turned her head. She looked at me. Blue eyes, irises blue, intelligent, fierce. She growled, a low rumbling vibration that shook the floorboards. She bared teeth stained with Thorne's blood. I stared at her. I had come to save a damsel. I had come to save a servant girl who scrubbed floors. Instead, I found a queen. She hadn't waited for me. She hadn't hidden. She had broken the beta's leg and claimed the room. Pride washed over me. It burned in my chest. My own wolf howled in approval. Mate, strong, equal. I sheathed my sword. Shing. I didn't look at Thorne. I walked straight toward the massive silver wolf. Thorne gasped. Kill it! Kill her, Killian! She is the enemy. I ignored him. I stopped inches from the muzzle. I could feel her heat. I could smell the rage rolling off her in waves. Iris. The ears twitched. She stopped growling, watching me, waiting. I slowly, deliberately, lowered my head, exposed my neck, just a fraction. Submission, not to an enemy, to a partner. You did well. I reached out. I buried my hand in the thick silver fur of her neck, softer than silk. You saved him. I looked at the sleeping baby in the corner. You saved yourself. My voice changed. The softness vanished. Granite returned. I looked over the wolf's shoulder at the empty doorway. Get him out of here. Guards rushed in. They froze when they saw the wolf. Now, I roared. They scrambled, grabbed Thorne by his good arm and dragged him out, screaming about treason, about silver wolves. But no one listened. The door hung crooked on its hinges. I turned back to the wolf. She trembled now. Adrenaline fading, the pain of the shift, her first in years, setting in. She whined, high, pitiful. I've got you. I wrapped my arms around her massive neck. I held her up as her legs gave out. Shift back. It's safe now. I've got you. But as I held her, I knew the truth. I didn't have her. She had me. And the entire kingdom was about to burn because of it.
Magic didn't leave gently. It ripped. Bones snapped, cracked, ground together in a sickening rhythm. I collapsed. Legs turned to jelly. Fur melted away, leaving only skin, pale, shivering, drenched in sweat and blood. I hit the rug hard. I've got you. Strong arms caught me before I touched the floor. Killian. His armor was cold. His arms were hot. I gasped. The air froze against my naked back. Exposed. Vulnerable. A silver moon wolf in the arms of the Blackwood Alpha. I tried to push him away. I tried to curl into a ball. Don't look, I sobbed. Please, don't look. I was a monster. The enemy. Everything he was sworn to kill. Hush. He grabbed his heavy fur cloak from the floor and wrapped it around me. Cedar and safety flooded my senses. It covered the shame. I am looking at you. His voice was fierce. And I don't see a monster. He tucked the fur under my chin. His fingers grazed my jaw, right where Thorne had hit me. I see a queen. I looked up, vision blurry. His eyes weren't filled with hate. They were filled with awe. I am Silver Moon. My blood is your enemy. Your blood, he said, wiping a smear of red from my cheek, is the only thing that just saved my son. My heart stopped. My son. He had said it. Claimed Aemon, not a burden, not a bastard. His son. Thorne. Thorne is gone. His face hardened into stone. And if he comes back, I will finish what you started. He lifted me. I weighed nothing in his arms. He walked past the broken cradle, past the shredded rug. He laid me on the velvet sheets. Rest. I reached out. I grabbed his wrist. The same desperation I had in the scullery. The council, they will come for us. They know what I am now. Killian looked at the door, the broken hinges, the darkness beyond. Let them come.
Silence reclaimed the room. I stood by the bed, a bowl of warm water in hand. Drip, drip. Iris slept. Finally. Her breathing shallow, her hand clutching the edge of my cloak like a lifeline. Small, fragile. But I knew better. I had seen the wolf. I had seen her snap a beta's leg like a dry twig. I had seen her stand over the crib, a silver shield. Magnificent. The mattress dipped under my weight. I reached out. Gently. I wiped the blood from her arm. 4 jagged lines where Thorne had scratched her. She flinched in her sleep. I'm sorry. Not for the cloth. For everything. For the war. For the village I burned. For the fear I had put in her eyes for 5 years. I traced the scar on her wrist. The old one. The mark of a servant's labor. You were scrubbing my floors. While I was looking for a queen, you were on your knees in the dirt. Sickness coiled in my gut. Creak. My head snapped up, hand to dagger. Not Thorne, Eamon. The baby stood in the wreck of the cradle, holding the rails, not crying, watching me. Golden eyes, intelligent. I froze, the nose, the jaw, the eyes, looking in a mirror. I stood up, stepped over the debris. I reached down. Eamon didn't shrink. He reached up, chubby hands grasping for the giant. I lifted him. Heavy, solid, smelling of milk and winter. I held him close, buried my nose in the soft hair. Heir. My wolf purred. Pack. Future. I missed it, I whispered into his neck. I missed the first howl. I missed the first step. I turned back to the bed. Iris watched me, eyes open, blue and tired. You didn't miss the first fight. I walked back to her, sat down, our son in my arms. No, I didn't. I looked at the door. The castle was waking up, the shouting in the courtyard, the drums of the council. War was coming. Thorne would tell them everything. They would come for the silver moon wolf. They would come for the abomination heir. Let them come. I took Iris's hand, interlaced our fingers. We are going to need a bigger door. Iris smiled, weak, real. We don't need a door. We have a pack. I looked at the baby, then at the wolf in human skin. Yes, we do. I kissed her forehead. Not a mark, a promise. Rest, my queen. The war starts tomorrow.